All right. Hey there, everybody. My name is Corey Jones, and I'm with Compassion Works for All based here in Little Rock. Super glad to have everybody who's on the call with us today, and thankful to have those of you who are watching the recording later. Either way, I hope that your day is off to a great start. I want to spend a little bit of time today before we get into our meditation. I want to talk about the power of our thoughts. And there is a way of thinking about our thoughts in a very meta sort of way. There's a way of thinking about our thoughts in which we begin to recognize that there really is not a more powerful force in the world than our own thoughts. And you might think, well, what about a nuclear bomb? What about a hurricane? What about all these things? And ultimately, it's our thoughts about what's happening that determine our emotional state, our mental state, and our responses to things. We had an incident over this last weekend where we recently stayed in an Airbnb. And our family travels quite a bit. We have several children who play basketball, and so we travel for basketball tournaments. And we rely on Airbnbs because we do have a large family, and it's cheaper to do it that way than to stay in multiple hotel rooms. And it's a little bit nicer than being cooped up in a hotel for several days. So we stay at Airbnbs, and the first day that we arrive, I always gather everyone in the living room and I give them my same spiel that, hey guys, we travel quite a bit. We need Airbnbs to be able to do this. And so we have to be respectful of the house we're staying in, of the property we're in. We go through everything that we read through the house rules together, everything that specifically we're not supposed to do, we're not supposed to touch, and we make sure that we take very good care of the places where we stay. So we spent a whole week recently at a home, and we had a couple of incidents because we have 8 kids, but we communicated with the host. We let them know. They sent a property manager out to look. They texted us back, hey, everything's fine, no worries. Well, we get home, and a few days after we got back, I see the review that was left for us, and they absolutely trashed us and said all of these things about how we were not respectful of their home, about how we caused all of these damages, about how they had to turn away future reservation requests because of the amount of time it was taking to clean up after our family. And we were going, what in the world are you talking about? And so my wife and I spent quite a deal of time reading through this and kind of scouring it and going, no, this is just factually untrue. And the evidence that they provided, we're looking at it and we're going, that's not even like that. That's a 2-second little wipe off the wall. Like, how is this? What is happening? They sent us a bill for $2,200 in damages. And we went, this is insane. So anyway, you can see I'm getting a little amped up already, even talking about this again, but we spent a full day considering our response. We didn't want to be rude. We didn't want to be snarky, as my shirt says. We wanted to be kind. But at the same time, we wanted to acknowledge that this was in no way true. And so I would write a little bit of a response, and I would hand the phone to my wife, and she would kind of read through mine, make some edits, then add some of her own thoughts. And she would hand it back to me, and I would read through hers, make some edits, and add more of my own thoughts. And we did this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for several hours. And finally, we got this response back that we felt good about. We're still kind of in the process of trying to resolve it. They wrote back and said, hey, we're really sorry. This sounds like a miscommunication between our property managers and us. And they did away with the charges, and we're waiting for them to either change or take down the review. But all of that, and maybe you can even hear the emotion in my voice now, all of that consumed us. Even when we weren't in the actual process of writing a response or replying to one of their messages, we were thinking about it and talking about it and ruminating on it. And for an entire weekend, this incident consumed every waking thought. Now, plenty of other things were happening all weekend. I would guess that if I were to ask you, what did you do over that particular weekend? You would tell me things that have nothing to do with this incident we were dealing with our Airbnb hosts. And you might have had a perfectly pleasant weekend. And for you, it would just be kind of weird that we spent this whole weekend consumed with these negative thoughts about this thing. So looking back, we're happy and satisfied with the response that we gave. We're happy and satisfied with the actions that we took. We're absolutely confident and satisfied with the way we treated the home, with how we acted while we were there. And we have no clue why all of these things were accused against us. But what I do wish I could go back and change is the way I allowed that thought to consume everything about my mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical well-being. I asked my wife one night, "Do you have any dental floss? Because I just feel something in my like my back molars." And I kept fiddling around and trying to get it out, and I realized I didn't have anything in my teeth. It's that I had been tensing up my jaw the entire time, and so it altered my bite in the back of my mouth because I kept my jaw so tight for so long dealing with this thing. Our thoughts are perhaps the single most powerful force in our life because it's what we think about what's happening, it's what we tell ourselves about what's happening that determines our response to it, and that determines our physical, mental, and emotional realities. So I just want to challenge us all with that today, and especially myself, to be much more aware of what our thoughts are doing in a particular moment, how we're interpreting a particular situation, and whenever possible, do everything in our power to take a step back, to gain some perspective, to make sure we're not losing ourselves mentally and emotionally into this thing, and especially to be able to find some acceptance and peace about what's taking place. So I actually keep kind of looking at myself as I'm saying this because I am saying this to me. Because again, as you can tell, I still get a little bit fired up. And if the other thing that I'll say is, I don't know if that story was interesting to you or not, but sometimes we can even get caught up in other people's drama. We enjoy seeing other people caught up in something. We enjoy watching other people create some kind of tension or drama for themselves. And we can allow ourselves to get sucked into their thing as well if we're not careful. And so that's one of my absolute favorite things about mindfulness and meditation is its invitation to us to practice acceptance, to recognize that there is only so much control we have over life and over various situations, and to recognize that the most control we have is over what's inside our own heads. And so we ought to practice that as often as possible. Okay, so I'm going to set my timer here. And let's begin by coming into a mindful posture. As always, posture is very important in our meditation time. We don't want to be rigid and tense, but we do want to be attentive. So if you're like me and you're seated in a chair, have your feet flat on the floor. Make sure there are no distractions around you. If you need to silence your phone, if you need to turn off notifications on something, go ahead and take just a second to do that. We'll spend about 20 minutes here together in meditation, and so dedicate these 20 minutes to being fully present. So your feet flat on the floor. Let your belly be soft. Your spine is upright and attentive, though not rigid, but also not slouched. And let your shoulders fall gently away from your ears, effortlessly. Create a little bit of space between your teeth so that you're not clenching your jaw. And it helps to angle your face downward. And let all the muscles in your face be soft and smooth. And in this mindful posture, we'll begin with the sound of 3 bells. As we're talking here live, it's the middle of the day, it's the lunch hour. And so there are surely things in our minds carrying over from this morning, or things that we're thinking about coming up this afternoon or later in the week. And for right now, we're not going to do anything at all with those thoughts. We're just going to let them exist. And rather than trying to deal with our thoughts, we're first going to turn our attention and bring our awareness to our physical body. So let your thoughts be what they are. And let's bring awareness to the bottom of our feet. Notice how it feels for your feet to make contact with the floor. Perhaps even move your awareness from all four corners of your foot where it makes contact with the floor. Feel the far outside near your pinky toes. Feel the inner area just beneath your big toe. Feel your back heel on the inner part of it, and then feel your back heel on the outer part. Maybe just make that square in your mind a couple of times, just moving your awareness. From the top outside, the top inside, the bottom inside, the bottom outside. And this isn't just physically grounding ourselves, it's also mentally grounding ourselves. We're here, we're in this space, the room where you're sitting. That's what reality is right now. And so be here fully within it. Let's bring awareness now up to our belly. In many meditation traditions, all of our consciousness, all of our existence comes from this area of our body, comes from deep within our belly, deep in our gut. This is where the seed of consciousness rests. And so we're going to let it be relaxed and wide. Feeling our life force, our consciousness rising up and welling up from deep within us. And you'll notice that as you play around with your consciousness, with your awareness, with your attention, as you move it from place to place on your body, it starts to cultivate this sense of control over yourself, over your mind, over your emotions. You cannot control anything beyond yourself, but simply by sliding your attention up and down, by moving it from place to place on your body, you come into full control of your awareness. And by being fully aware, you are also fully present. So bring your attention now to your heart center, to the middle of your sternum. It might even help to place your hand there to feel the warmth. Become aware of the sensations that you notice. You might notice your heartbeat a little bit stronger as you move your awareness to your chest. And let's bring our attention now to the area that some refer to as the third eye, between your eyebrows. This area on your forehead. And notice that by bringing your awareness up slightly above eye level, sort of activates your attention a bit stronger. So feel that just for a moment. Feel that increased and intensified attention. And hold that awareness here in the present without allowing your mind to drift for as long as you can. Just rest your awareness there in between the eyebrows, in the middle of the forehead. And finally, bring your attention to the very top of your head, the furthest point. Notice any sensations you feel on your scalp. And pay attention to what this does to your awareness. And so we're still allowing our thoughts to be whatever they are and wherever they are. If our mind is wandering, that's still okay. But as you notice your mind wander, gently bring it back to the present. We're not going to stop our mind and we're not going to stop our thoughts, but we can decide what to do with them. And so if you notice that your thoughts are generating some sort of negative feeling or some kind of stress response, maybe you suddenly thought about something you were supposed to take care of earlier, or maybe you suddenly remembered something coming up later today or this week that needs to be addressed. And we're going to let that thought exist without attaching any emotion to it. And we're going to trust that it will be there whenever we finish with our meditation time. And for now, we're just focused on what's happening here in the present. And so before we turn our full attention to our thoughts, let's turn our awareness now to our breath. Our breath is the foundation of meditation. Our breath is always with us. And our breath can act as sort of a remote control for our brain. The more we focus on our breath, the more it calms and centers our mind. And the more we breathe freely, the more we oxygenate our blood, activate our senses, and keep control over our attention and our awareness without allowing our minds to just go wherever it will. So bring awareness to your inhale and then to your exhale. Pay close attention to the air as it comes into your nose, and then pay close attention to the air as it exits. And just stay with this for a few more breaths. Allow a sense of curiosity to lead the way. See what you can learn about each inhale, and see what there is to notice about each exhale. And each time your mind wanders away, just gently return it back to your breath. Paying attention with curiosity to the inhale, and then paying attention with curiosity to the exhale. Notice on your inhale which torso muscles you use to take in your breath. Do you use your upper torso with your shoulders and your chest? Or are you keeping those relaxed and allowing your belly and diaphragm to expand out as you breathe in? We want to especially focus on the second one, allowing our upper torso to stay relaxed and calm, and let the diaphragm and the belly do the breathing. And by doing this, we bring air all the way down to the deepest parts of the lungs. We don't cut our air supply short by taking shallow breaths from up top. So really feel the expansiveness of each inhale as your belly expands. And now turn your attention to the exhale. As you breathe in and your belly expands, notice what happens when you breathe out and the belly goes back down like a deflating balloon. Allow it to fill up on the inhale, and then pay attention as it deflates on the exhale. Let's do this for a few more breaths. Pay attention to the expansion on the inhale, but then really focus on the deflating of the exhale. Let's do this for one more breath. Notice where your mind has been throughout this breathing exercise. Has it been in the present? Has it drifted to the past? Has it floated off into the future? Wherever it is, gently return it to the present. And become aware of the sense of grounding and presence that you've cultivated by focusing on your body and by focusing on your breath. These two physical components are not to be overlooked. Meditation is not just about what happens from the neck up. The more we bring awareness and attention to our body, and the more we bring awareness and attention to our breath, the easier it is for our minds to be gently and comfortably in the present. Otherwise, it's like trying to stop a waterfall with your bare hands. And so when you notice your mind is drifting or that your thoughts are getting the best of you, take a moment to check in with your body. Notice where you're carrying your stress. Take a moment to check in with your breath. Take some of these deep belly breaths in which your belly expands and contracts. And once you've done that, then you can turn your attention to your thoughts and see where they are, see what they are. And notice how much more power you have over them now that you're present, now that you're here. We're going to spend a few moments in silence. And we're all going to do our best to stay in the present, but inevitably our minds are going to wander. You're not going to stop it. So what we're going to do instead is notice. Notice when they have drifted. Make a note of whether your mind has drifted to the past or the future, and then gently invite yourself back into the present. And it doesn't matter how many times your mind wanders away. It doesn't matter which direction it goes, or even the content of the thoughts that your mind generates. None of that matters for our purposes here. All we're paying attention to is what our mind is doing and bringing it back to the present. Notice if your mind has drifted, and if it has, gently bring it back. Let's spend about 30 more seconds together in silence, keeping our mind and our thoughts in the present. Take one last deep, expansive inhale through the nose. And as you breathe out, you can open your eyes. Well, I hope that this was helpful for everyone and gives us all a helpful sense of what mindful meditation is, that it's about keeping our minds in the present, using our body and our breath as tools to do that. And more than anything, really respecting the power of our thoughts and recognizing that it takes intentionality and it takes a bit of skill that we develop in order to prevent our thoughts from getting the best of us. So I hope that you manage your stressful thoughts better than my wife and I did recently. And I hope that this gives you some skills and some abilities to do that well. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great week.